So I'm about 90% sure that the Eclipse blew another head gasket. Rewind back to when my friend Zach was in town. We went for a rip in the Eclipse after getting the new transmission in. At the end of that drive, right when we were pulling back into the driveway, the car started spilling coolant. It started spilling coolant out of the overflow, kind of like what it had been doing when it originally blew a head gasket. Now, I didn't think too much of it at that time because we had just been ripping on the car and then we got stuck in some traffic, so I figured it got a little warm. And then, you know, it did what it was supposed to do and it overflowed. We topped the car off of coolant, took it around the block a couple times, and it was totally fine. So I didn't think anything of it. Now, right after that, I replaced the factory radiator cap with an upgraded radiator cap from Mishimoto. The upgraded radiator cap has a higher clamping force, so there has to be more pressure in the cooling system before the radiator cap will open and let coolant into the overflow. Now, a couple days after installing that radiator cap, I was sitting in the drive-thru of Wendy's and I smelt a bunch of coolant. Sure enough, I looked in my rearview mirror and there was coolant on the ground. That time, it didn't come out of the overflow. It was actually coming out of somewhere else on the motor, somewhere by the water pump area. That is the coolant leak that the car has now. So ever since then, it's been leaking coolant when it's running. But then I got to thinking, why did the car suddenly blow out this coolant seal and start leaking coolant? Maybe it's because the head gasket is blown and it's pressurizing the cooling system, and since I just put an upgraded radiator cap on it, the first thing to give was actually the coolant seal and not the radiator cap. So sure enough, last night, off camera, I topped it off with some coolant, and I took the radiator cap off. It doesn't leak any coolant when the radiator cap is off, and I can see some bubbles coming out. As soon as I put the radiator cap back on, it starts leaking coolant again. So in my mind, what that means is that the head gasket is slightly blown, like it was last time. It's sending pressurized air into the cooling system, and that pressure has to go somewhere, but I might be overthinking things, and so we're gonna find out. You know, I was hoping I would never have to use this again, but I kind of figured I would. Never in my wildest dreams, actually my wildest nightmares, would I have thought I had to use it on the same car like a month later. So, we're doing a leak down test. As a reminder, you know, not sure if you really need it considering we did it so recently, but you know, just in case you need a reminder, we're testing the cylinder's ability to hold pressure. So all we do is we take the spark plug out, take it out of gear, then make sure the cylinder is at top dead center. Take our tester, pop her open, screw the hose in, connect it to one end, and we connect our air compressor to the other. Okay. Then we add some pressure. These two needles should stay about the same. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more coolant in this funnel so I can see if it's bubbling, because that's another way to, you know if we have a blown head gasket. If the coolant is bubbling while we're pressurizing the cylinder, it's a big no-no. So there's definitely a drop of about 18 PSI, but there's no bubbling in the cooling system. So according to my calculations, that is a 28% leak down. It's the exact same it was as the last time I blew the head gasket. Cooling system wasn't bubbling then, but it was leaking when I pressurized it, so it was dripping out. I guess let's just continue with the test. But real quick, let me talk about this video's sponsor, Simply Carbon Fiber. Simply Carbon Fiber is a company that makes a bunch of really awesome products out of carbon fiber. They make watches, they make sunglasses, wallets, phone cases, fun accessories, screen protectors, chargers, the list goes on and on. Now I've shown you guys their watches and their sunglasses, and I love both of those products. Today I have a phone case for my brand new phone that's already cracked. Yeah, that's why you guys should go buy yourself a phone case. Now this is their forged carbon fiber Armor series phone case. It's their little bit beefier, a little bit more protective phone case. They have some slimmer ones and they have some other different types of phone cases, but this thing is awesome. I love it. It's beefy, it's protective, but it actually is still, you know, really comfortable. It's not giant like some other phone cases. And now I hopefully won't crack my phone anymore. The awesome thing is that Simply Carbon Fiber is having a Black Friday sale early, so you guys can get some discounts on all their awesome products. If you're interested in anything they got, I'll have a link in the description down below. Thank you so much to Simply Carbon Fiber for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Pretty much anything over 20% leak down on a turbocharged motor is a bad sign, so those test results were a little concerning. But I had forgotten to do one thing. I had forgotten to warm up the motor before performing the test. So I went ahead, put the spark plugs back in, turned the motor on, let it reach operating temp, and I performed the test again. These test results, they're right on the border of there being something wrong and there not being something wrong. Cylinder 3 and cylinder 4, those are perfectly fine. It had a leak down of 17%, both when the engine was cold and when it was warm. The fact that that didn't change at all when it warmed up and the fact that it's under 20%, those cylinders are fine. But cylinder 1 and 2, when the engine was cold, cylinder 1 leaked 28% and cylinder 2 leaked 33%. When it was warm, cylinder 1 leaked 20%, and cylinder 2 leaked 25%. So for both cylinder 1 and 2, the leak down decreased by 8% when the engine was warmed up. See, 20 and 25% leak down, it's not good. It's definitely not good, but it's not terrible. It's not as bad as it was previously. Thinking maybe fix the coolant leak, replace whatever seal's bad, and then put the lighter radiator cap back on, drive it, and see if it boils over or see if it pressurizes it. I think that's the best move from here. But I'm pretty sure it's the water pump that's leaking, so I have to totally disassemble the motor. Which, if it has a blown head gasket, I don't want to do that. I don't want to disassemble it and then reassemble it and then just disassemble it again, but I don't think I've got much option. All right, good news. Found the coolant leak, and it's not the water pump. And that means I don't have to take the timing belt off and all that junk. It seems like it's one of the oil cooler lines, so I'm gonna replace those lines and then go from there. I got both of the leaking coolant lines replaced. Now I just have to reassemble the front accessories and then we can test it. Time to get another one of those stock motor mounts out. Figured I might as well replace it now. Oh, damn. That one was way easier. Just put it that way. Sick. I'm gonna let it warm up, gonna bleed the coolant, and then we can take it for a drive. Sure enough, a nice steady stream of bubbles coming out of the coolant system. At this point, I'm pretty positive it's got a blown head gasket. Let's still drive it and see what happens. If it spits coolant out the overflow, it's 100% confirmed. Guess I just keep driving until I start smelling something. At least the transmission doesn't grind. Haha. Ha. Nothing yet. Guess I'll drive it some more. And surprisingly, it still has all its coolant. At this point, I don't know if it's got a blown head gasket or not, but I'm fairly certain those bubbles coming out of the cooling system when the car's fully warmed up and totally bled, not normal. And the leak down test did reveal that some of the cylinders were a little iffy. So I'm thinking it does have a blown head gasket. It's just little bit of leaking. And at least for now, the coolant is staying inside the motor. So, I mean, I guess only time will tell. Gonna keep driving it, gonna keep modifying it. I'm sure it's going to get worse, and I'm sure it's gonna fully blow pretty soon, and then we'll have to fix it. Here's the problem. The only reason why it would have blown a head gasket already is because the block is warped or messed up. Because the last head gasket it blew, I didn't get the block machined. I kind of just hoped it was fine. Cast iron blocks are usually totally fine. If you overheat it, blow a head gasket, whatever. But it's seeming like this time it wasn't. Now, if it is the block, the problem is that the entire motor trans has to come out and the motor has to be totally rebuilt because all the internals have to come out, the block has to be machined, all the internals have to be rebuilt, put back in, and we'll go from there. I feel like nothing's going my way right now, and it sucks. Holy shit. Yo, look at that fucking big ass owl. Look at that big ass owl. It's a big ass owl. Holy shit, that thing's huge. Oh. Well, anyway, starting to understand why DSM's, well, it's not the Eclipse's fault. It's the previous owners. That poor car was never taken care of, clearly. The freaking block was warped. It must have really been beaten on, really overheated, really screwed up. Next video, let's put some wheels on it. At least it'll look cool with a blown head gasket. And if you want to watch that now, you can click up there. Peace out, guys.